Hello and welcome to Ula Tea Leaf Readings. My name is Lenore and tonight I'm going to be reading your tea leaves. This is a horoscope for Virgo. If Virgo is your solar, lunar, ascendant / rising sign, then this is a message for you. All right, let's get started. And so our card tonight is the Lust or Strength card. Okay, and let's go ahead and see what these tea leaves have to say. And if you have not subscribed yet, please think about doing that. You can hit the little bell. It'll let you know when the next readings are coming out. It is free to subscribe. So immediately I'm seeing we have a face here. It looks like it's right here in the center. We have the eyes, the nose, and a beard. Okay, it looks like kind of smiling. I get this real impression of maybe like a father figure, an uncle, maybe an older brother. And up here we have, it looks like a person standing, holding their hand out, and we have a bird that's coming in to land. We have, it looks like two children here kind of running. Looks like they're in, like kind of an atmosphere of play and laughter and kind of chasing after one another, running through the fields and, just having a nice day together. And then down here, it looks like we have two people who are kind of almost dancing, it looks like. So I want to go ahead and we're just going to start with this scenario. Usually I'll turn this whole thing around real quick. Maybe we'll do that, but I want to start with this. So I feel like this really is kind of it feels like a sense of really kind of living in your memories recently. We do have what looks kind of like a tower. Okay, so I feel like something has happened, and I don't know that it's recent, but I feel like maybe there's a sense of loss here. Maybe there's a sense of kind of saying goodbye to maybe this father figure, maybe a sibling, maybe a mother. I feel like there's like a sense of looking back on when you were a child, when you were a kid, and seeing your parents together. And now it maybe was not perfect. No marriages, no, experience with your parents, is a perfect thing. We all have our things, right? With our family, with our friends, with our parents, and so on. It just nothing is as ideal as maybe we hope it to be. But some have these really beautiful experiences watching their parents be in love, having a home that is full of wonder and art and music and magic and learning and all of these things. And I feel that your mother definitely had some kind of psychic ability. She's reaching out to the birds up here, so I know that she received messages. She maybe was like overtly psychic, clairvoyant, a medium, something like this, but maybe not. Maybe she just seemed to be a really intuitive person, somebody who had premonitions and dreams and these kinds of things. But I do feel like definitely She was very in touch with spirit. Now I'm talking about her in the past tense, that she might not be gone. But I do feel like in your mind, in this moment, you're thinking of her as a younger person, as she was when you were young. And this father figure here feels like kind of the sun of your life, right? The solar center. Somebody who was quite loving and jovial and, spoke kindly, didn't raise their voice very often. Somebody who taught you how to trust and treat people well, to treat yourself well, to take care of your family, and all of these kinds of things. Now, I think that in a way there were parts of your childhood that felt very idyllic. But I also feel like, it almost feels like there was some kind of, maybe a tragedy of some kind. Maybe when you were young. Again, it reflects this feeling of loss. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a death. It could be a divorce. It could be, I almost wonder if this sibling here, if there was something, maybe a health issue or addiction issue, and that maybe it's not that you lost them, that they passed away, but you lost track of them. They became kind of somebody different than you remember them, and that maybe it was very difficult to stay in touch with them, to stay close to them, and I feel like in this time of your life, whatever it is that has happened, we look at that tower there, and it could be any number of things, but I do wonder if it is that one of these family members has passed, more recently, and there seems to be a sense of reminiscing and going back in your mind, kind of examining these moments that, maybe in your memory they seem so pristine and they seem so lovely and so intense at times that the impression is like stepping into a place that you've been, right? It's so thick with emotion and sensation and you can smell it, you can touch it, you can hear it. And it's like waking up in your bedroom as a child, right? And hearing the sounds of the house and the sun is coming in the window and you know that you're home. You can hear the commotion out there, cooking and cleaning and people getting ready for the day and when you step into these moments, into these memories, it's like being transported. But I do feel like because of whatever has transpired between, well, then and now, which is probably much. I imagine you've lived a full life almost. And, I think that there almost seems to be a sense of trying to decode some of how did this life that felt so perfect lead to some of these very difficult circumstances? How did this happen? It doesn't make sense. We were all so happy, weren't we? Right? We were all so happy, weren't we? That's what I keep thinking in my head. And And I can't help but feel like there's a sense of like almost, I feel naive. I feel silly. What I should have seen, whatever this was that was happening, what was happening. I don't know exactly. I don't see it here, but I know that, it feels like a mystery being revealed where you didn't even know that there was a mystery. And I'm going to go ahead, we're going to turn it and see what we can see. And I have to apologize. As I've said in my other readings this week, we all have the flu. And I was feeling better, but I don't know, I woke up today feeling somewhat ill. and shout out to my lovely husband over at Dove and Serpent Tarot, my husband Paul over there. He is quite ill. He's had to take off the last 2 days, excuse me, of filming because he's so sick, which never happens. So I knew that he was pretty poorly because he will usually work through just about anything. So we have mushrooms here. We have mushrooms up in here. Okay, we have a person standing here. And I'm looking. We have an animal running at the top. Oh, and we have a rabbit running here too. So I kind of almost feel like there's this sense of living a life. Oh, and there's a rabbit right there as well. Okay. So I feel like you've lived a life. You are living a life. One where you are quite resourceful. And I see the mushroom and I know. You live by your instinct quite a bit. You live by your intuition quite a bit. You are very connected to that earthy energy that we Virgos all have, right? But you are somebody who is very close to the earth. I feel almost like maybe you actually forage, but what is very much intact in you still is the instinct to gather. Okay, you're really good at finding things, putting things together. You probably keep quite an interesting home. I imagine you have a lot of neat things, and the way that you decorate is pretty elaborate. Okay, now there are the rabbits. Okay, so the rabbits to me always are fertility, creativity, and abundance of inspiration. This rabbit is sitting, this rabbit is running. We also have, it looks like maybe a rabbit up here as well, and it's kind of leaping. So to me, I feel like there is just a constant cycle of your creative process. And let me say, I feel that you are probably, you identify at least, and you probably are, you maybe don't identify as an artist, but definitely a creative person. You absolutely have your own kind of vibe and style. It's very unique. And I think that people definitely comment on it quite often. And so I feel like there's such a sense of, you're very attached to your roots. I think that you're quite interested in your elders, your ancestors, you yourself becoming an elder. Really, there are these trends where I think the way that you lived as a child, right? Maybe even the aesthetic of your home, the environment you lived in, even if you have moved to a different part of the country or world, it's very represented in your home. There is quite a bond between you and your mother, especially in how you keep your home. And I keep thinking it's like the decorations, the objects you keep, these sacred things that you have. I'm thinking even of I don't know why I keep thinking of this, like a cedar box that you have a blanket in. I can just think of, you even fold your blanket like your mother would fold her blanket. And you think of her as you take care of your things. I just feel like there's a belovedness here. But there's also, I can't get over this. It's a hint of melancholy. And I don't know what it is about this dynamic in your family. There's almost a sense of lamenting a limitation for them. Although it felt idyllic to you, you look back now as a grown person and you think maybe some of the sacrifices they made, some of the ways that they lived, although it honored the family, was limiting for them as individuals. And I think that's really what this is there's this kind of trying to understand how and why they would live this way. And I think that you have done your best to live the way that you want to live. Now we have over here, it looks like a person wearing a robe and then some kind of animal head. So I'm going to call this the Hierophant or the High Priest. And I feel that you have found at least maybe generally some kind of system. Maybe you don't belong to a religion exactly, or a congregation, or a system of magic or a cult or whatever it is. I don't think you are particular to necessarily, but you have a general relationship with a school of thought, okay? And I feel that this is really important to you, to maintain this spiritual, this religious, this psychic, alchemical. It feels very much like an alchemical relationship that you have to the system. I feel like you derive a lot of meaning through your devotion, your faith, the work that you do within this realm. And I think a lot of that comes from the devotion that you saw in your home. Now, your family maybe was not religious. They maybe had no affiliation, but there was devotion. And so I feel that you have inherited this in a lot of ways. Excuse me. But you've taken that energy and put it into something that is your own. And so I feel that there is kind of this searching for what, how could they, why did they, I could never, I would never do what my parents do. But so often we do so much the same. It just looks a little different. And so I think this is one of the great lessons of your life, and one that I think you already know, right? I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, but I feel like this is something has happened where these thinkings, these musings, these, contemplations are really coming up for you. And it's easy to forget. It's easy to forget, I guess, I don't know, the practicality of things. When I think about my own life, it seems like a movie in a lot of ways. It seems like, like like mythology. And I often call these things our self-mythology. And it's because it feels so much more grand than it would in practice. Even though, yeah, of course we have moments where things are very, enchanting, or there's elation, ecstatic, great sorrows and tragedies and so on. But most of it, in the moment, as we go through the motions of things, it feels quite mundane. But when we recall in our mind, all these little spaces are filled in, it feels so much more like a movie. And so I think, part of the self-discovery is about looking at things with clear eyes and seeing, the humanity in the situation. Instead of it being this really kind of monolithic thing, and whatever it was, it just, I don't know, it seems like maybe it was like infidelity or something. And this is hard, especially when we see this in like our parents or, and it doesn't have to be infidelity as far as like, being with another human being outside of the marriage, but it could be financial infidelity, or financial abuse. It could be, checking out of the relationship and yet not leaving it, right? Leaving this other person within the relationship to toil, because they are still interested in being connected and being, in a partnership. And sometimes that does happen. Somebody's completely checked out, but they're unwilling to leave or unwilling to make that next step towards either healing or separating. And, in a way that to me it can be an infidelity, right? And as somebody from the outside of a relationship, watching that happen to people who are, not only beloved to us, but they are our original role models, can be quite devastating. And so often we hold these, pains, these resentments, these anxieties that come about through our life. And so, I feel this is very much a spiritual journey in here. This is a part of your growth, your self-evolution, that it's difficult. And I think it's an abrupt kind of situation that brings on all of this thinking. Now we also have, I'm looking at these, we have two coyotes. We have one here who's kind of arching its back and looks like it is kind of stretching. And then we have one up here who is, and let me get my stick, who is sitting. You can see the head here, mouth open, kind of sitting right here. Okay, so the coyote in these readings, and as far as symbolism goes, is the trickster. This is the guy that shows up in your dreams, in your visions, in your subconscious or your consciousness kind of altered, right? Comes a knocking and says, let's go for a walk. Let's go think about, some things together. Let's go chat about it. Let's go, rummaging through, The far, far dumps of our mind where we forget about things, the little fragments that get away from us. And, I feel that, well, I always look forward for, I love a visit from the coyote spirits. And, but they can be quite destabilizing and confusing. It can be confusing. And sometimes, if you could imagine, you're out there walking with this coyote, you're talking, you're going further out onto the plains or into the desert or whatever it looks like to you. And next thing you know, you turn around and he's gone. Where did he go? He left me out here, all by my lonesome, with all of this openness, all of this space to ponder out there in the wilderness. So be careful with that coyote. Make sure that you have your grounding. Make sure that, you have something that tethers you to reality. Remember yourself. And, the best things for this, I think, are staying in our routines. Making sure that we're not abandoning everything to kind of follow these spiritual, I was going to say spiritual outbreaks. Not really that, but it's just, we have these moments where our life becomes quite untangly, right? All the complexities kind of fall away, and we're looking here at these very, they're potent energies in our lives. And maybe we're having a lot of visions. Maybe we find ourselves dissociating quite often, thinking deeply beyond ourselves, feeling out of our bodies. You're in there vacuuming, and next thing you know, you realize you've stopped, you're staring out the window, you're thinking about, something about whatever, your childhood, your spiritual well-being, your whatever, and it's, you've been standing there for 10 minutes. Just drifting. And that's okay. That's fine. But, we have to be mindful not to let it succumb, or let us succumb to it. Let it take us completely. Because it can happen. Now we have an R. So I feel like we have an R name. We also have a heart. As I say that, I see that right down here. Excuse me. I see that right down here. And I see we have P-O-R and T. So port. Port. Maybe this is an actual port, like on the ocean or a large lake, and there's a port where the boat comes in, and this is where things come, whatever, goods and things come through. Or maybe this is a doorway, a window, a porta, right? A threshold, or a, kind of a place of transition. So, or portal, right? So I feel like it's like deciding to walk through this next door. Will I stay in this room forever, or will I go on to the next? Because it has shown itself to me. I don't know exactly what's on the other side, but I feel drawn to it. Okay, we have the horn, so the opening. This is an opening for some kind of ceremony or ritual. We also have a ram, maybe an Aries here. We have what looks like a bridge. Again, kind of moving on, moving forward. Now we have the Lust card. We also have a hog. So we have the Lust card, and for me, in this context, it feels like this, this energy of, I've been in this place and this, I've been living my life and I've been going about it, and everything is pretty good and everything is pretty together, and this thing happens, right? And maybe somebody passes away, maybe something is lost, maybe there's some kind of reconfiguration within the family or the dynamic, and it brings you into a place of really kind of going over these old things, partly swimming in the beauty of it all, right? Because I feel like this is a childhood that you look at it and you think, this was not a bad childhood. I had a lot of beauty in my life, a lot of goodness in my life. I was privileged and so very lucky. But there are things there that are difficult. Things there that affected you. And things that you don't really, as a person living in a different time and context, you look back and you think, I don't understand the choices necessarily. But I think all of this is normal. This is, we do this as human beings. This is part of that individuation process. And, I feel like it's like you are preparing, or you are in the process of kind of going over into this other part of your life. And I wonder if you yourself, maybe you have been separated or getting a divorce. Maybe the kids are getting older. They're leaving for school, or they're, adults. They're getting married, having kids. Things feel different. And, and so you are in this process of evolving as a being yourself. And this is where that strength and lust card come in. And to me, I feel there is a kind of a rising of sensuality in your life, but we also have those rabbits. So I know there's a rising of creativity, and I feel there's this sense of, I want to tell my story. I want to share my story. I want to make something with my story, and do something meaningful in my life, for myself, for those around me. And I feel like this is a real beautiful, beautiful time, because it is not only healing, but it is just so vibrant and lush and just swollen with life, right? And it's beautiful. And I wonder, what are you creating? If you'd like to share, comment it. If you have something that you've already created, you have a channel and you're an artist, you write books. Maybe you yourself are a reader, or you whatever it is. I mean, it could be a lot of different things. Go over to the community section, post it up. There's a post on there where you can comment, you can advertise whatever it is you do or make or want to share. I like to provide a space. I do this post every once in a while because the platform here for me is getting a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. And I want to make sure those of you who have something to say, to share, to give to the world, maybe I can help a little bit for you to get some eyes on it, right? And so yes, please go do that. Or go over to my husband's, or both. You could do both. He has the same post up, and his channel is Dove and Serpent Tarot. and that is linked in my on the channel here. You can see the icons for it when you go to the channel, and he has an even larger audience there, so you can put your stuff up there and share it as well. But yes, I feel there is a sense of I have to create. I am in the very creative mode, right? So let's go ahead and see. We have the Wild Offering Oracle cards, okay? And we're just going to go ahead and flip through here and stop where it feels right. And it says love. It's not about finding love. You are love itself. Help me, Lord, to send so much compassion and caring to the inner child that I always remember I myself am love. I myself am love. Beautiful. All right. Virgo, I want to tell you I love you because I do, and I thank you so much for spending this time with me. It's always such an honor to be able to bring these messages to you. And if you would be so kind as to like the video, it really does help the channel so much. And if you have not subscribed yet, please think about doing that. You can hit the little bell. It'll let you know when the next readings are coming out. It is free to subscribe. And if you would like to leave a comment, please do. I would love to hear from you. And I thank you again. I love you. I love you. I love you. We'll talk in a few days from now. Take care of yourself and good night.